So a little bit introduction of myself, and now let me use the next minute to introduce our association. Okay, so we, Licensing International, started in 1985, and actually we are the only global association for the licensing industry, and we actually are the spokespersons for the licensing industry, and our missions for the industry is to foster the growth and expansion of licensing around the world and raise the level of professionalism of licensing practitioners or licensing players. Again, create great awareness of the benefits of licensing to all the business communities. And how can we do this? Actually, we do this through an unparalleled network of information members to create impact, drive growth, and sustain excellence. So actually, we have more than 1,200 corporate members representing more than 40 countries. And we have offices on the ground in China, the United States, Japan, Australia, Germany, United Kingdom, and Brazil. In other markets where the licensing is also very important, we got representative in France, Italy, India, the Nordics, and Russia. So since our topic today is about licensing, so let's look at the definition of licensing. If you look at the word licensing in a dictionary, so it will be something like this. Licensing is the process of giving or getting permissions to have produced or use something that another person or company has created or owns. So if I put it into an example, and so it's easier to visualize it. So here we have the Minions movie, right? And so we all know this property, and we all know this movie is funny, and it's very successful. And now, on the other hand, we have a t-shirt manufacturers, so producing a yellow t-shirt. And now the t-shirt manufacturers, they have watched the movie and they like the movie, and that's why they go to Universal Studios and ask studios to borrow the Minions image and then put it on their products, put it on their t-shirt. Now it becomes a Minion t-shirt instead of yellow t-shirts. And this is how licensing has happened. And the brand owners allows the t-shirt manufacturers to use Minions on the t-shirt, but in return, the t-shirt manufacturers will pay a fee to Universal Studios or the IP owners for borrowing the image and put it on the products and sell. So this is how licensing happens. And of course, the IP owners here, we call it licensor. And whereas the t-shirt manufacturers will call it licensees. And the Minions, which is the intellectual properties or the brand, so we call IP here. And the fee that paid by the manufacturers to the IP owner is what we call royalty. So in this case, licensing in a more specific term, in terms of the licensing jargon, it will be defined as the process of leasing a trademark or copyright entity for use in conjunction with a product or service or promotions. And of course, the property can be a name, a character like Minions, a logo, a graphic, saying, signature, or combination of the elements. But does it mean, especially in today's world? So it is the full definition of licensing. Actually, something is missing here, a very key concept. Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea of what it is? It's very difficult, especially now we are doing Zoom. Otherwise, if we have this person-to-person offline classes, it will be more interactive. So let me tell you the answer. So the missing element, the missing piece is emotion, and that is emotion that makes licensing is so unique. And you may ask, so what what about emotion? Why should anyone care about emotion? And let me use another example to illustrate that. Here we'll see a plush, or what we call a pink piggy, right? But if you look at another picture, how will you call it? It will be, you won't call it a pinky plush or a pink piggy, but you'll call her by her name, Peppa Pig, right? And why you know her is Peppa Pig? Because you know the story. You come across the story, you understand or you know the characters. No matter you like it or not, you can remember the name of the characters. And this is the kind of emotional attachment. And this is something that help licensing work. So licensing is all about storytelling. And of course, licensing is not only limited to t-shirt or plush. Actually, it applies to different products, different types of consumer products, from services, toys, apparel, houseware, gift items, you name it, or stationery. So actually, licensing is a very friendly industry. It can make friends with any consumer products, and it just depends on the type of the IP. And that is why licensing is regarded as one of the most contemporary, powerful forms of marketing. And it is consumer engagement here, or what we call emotion, and the bottom line revenue. These are the two main underlying factors that separate licensing from other forms of marketing. And of course, as we said, licensing is not only refers to character, there are different types of property type, and these are all can be licensable from digital like gaming or corporate brands like Coca-Cola, sports events, the Olympics, fever, or of course the largest sector is entertainment. So cartoon characters, movie, novels, and again, art is a very trending um, it's a very popular trend these years. Celebrities, colleges licensing, so with all the college like Harvard, Cambridge, etc. And of course, fashion and corporate brands or like some or the emojis and emoticons. These are different property types that are licensable and that can engage with different product sectors and do the licensing work. In terms of product category, as I said, licensing is a very friendly business. And so from what we have seen so far or from the survey that we have done, actually the top product categories or what we call the key revenue drivers for licensing will be apparels, toys, fashion accessories, software, video games, apps, and home decor or home furnishing. But recently, there's some fast-growing product categories as well. They are infant products, pet products, auto products, as well as location-based experience. So for example, hotels, themed restaurants, and some sort of in-store playground and outdoor theme park. These are all location-based entertainment and of course services. So we talk about so much about licensing and how big is the market and why it is so important to us right now and why it is one of the main form of marketing these days. So the global sales revenue generated by licensed merchandise and services in 2019 is 292.8 billion. So a 4.5% increase over 2018. And this 4.5% growth is the largest percentage growth increase for the industry during the 6 years that this studies has been conducted. So we conducted the licensing survey every year. And the industry has grown in 3 consecutive years, and the cumulative growth is 11.4%. And even though this data are collected in 2020 for 2019, but and before the pandemic has broken out, but actually there are a lot of indicators last year demonstrated that licensing will remain as profitable business model that will survive through the pandemic and in fact come out even stronger And because of the nature of licensing, we are very agile, flexible, and fluid. And if we will look at the licensing industry by property type that we have we have we have introduced before, actually entertainment is the largest sector because we enjoy entertainment and all the beloved characters that we see from the entertainment of. It is no surprise, it is the largest sector and it accounts for 44% of the global total. And the second will be fashions and corporate brands and accessories. And then actually publishing accounts for 8% as well. So it is quite good. And it is quite an important sector in terms of property in licensing. But actually you can see the top five the top five property categories represents almost represents the whole pie already. But if you look at the global retail sales by product type, you can see there are more colors in the pie chart. 10 years ago or 20 years ago, actually this chart is less colorful, but because with the promotion of licensing and also more and more people know about licensing and more sectors, they understand the benefits of licensing and they want to take advantage of licensing and to make their own business, their own product business more profitable, and they want to partner with some brands, look for some brands for better business development. That's why you can see actually we are adding more and more product categories in the past 10 years. And among all, apparel, toys, and fashion accessories continue to stand as the largest categories of merchandise, and they are quite stable over years as well. And accessories and apparel, actually, they are showing strong above market growth over the years. And at the same time, location-based entertainment and services have even strong above market growth as many licensors now continue to look for non-traditional sources of revenue, which means services or experiences instead of traditional products. And research also shows that consumers, they prefer to spend more money on experience rather than products. And that explains why these sectors, of course, now they represent a very small sections in the pie chart, but actually there are tremendous growth opportunities in these sectors. And the geographical breakdown of the licensing of the global licensing business shows that US and Canada continue to maintain a 58% share of the worldwide consumption of licensed goods and services. And then actually the second largest market, the second largest region is Western Europe, and followed by that will be the Asian region. North Asia and Southern Asia Pacific together actually represent more than 10% of the total share of the worldwide share. And actually this region experienced the strongest year-over-year growth and in licensing business. And they are also the strongest growing region in 2018. And the countries in the North Asia, Southern Asia, Asia Pac regions that contribute to the strong growth are India, so China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and Colombia. In the previous slide, we talked about by region, and then if we look at the licensing market, by single market, the largest market is United States. And in 2019, so it accounts for 161 billion, which is almost half of the worldwide total. And United Kingdom is the second largest market, and Japan comes third, and which is the largest market in Asia. And Germany is number 4, and China as number 5, China plus Hong Kong. And if you can see the year-over-year growth, actually China has the above market growth. So the worldwide average growth is 4.5%, which is very close to the United States. But for China, Hong Kong is close to double digits, it's 9.8% growth. So much about numbers, data, the market size. And our next topic is about, so why a licensor, a brand owner has to do licensing, what are the benefits to do the licensing? So here we look at why an IP owner. These are some of the basic reasons why an IP owner or why a brand owner want to turn to licensing to get more business and exposure. First of all, is to enhance and increase brand awareness. In fact, it is not only revenue, or it is not only revenue taking, and in fact, through licensing, it can deliver highly desirable results to the licensors. As long as it is done right, actually it has more eyeball contact, it has more brand awareness, as in apart from revenue. And of course, the other um, the other good reasons for doing licensing is proactively licensing your brand out can help you prevent infringement or establish the licensor's ownership of the trademark in a particular country. And if you recall Angry Bird, so a few years back, it used to be a very, very big property and people are crazy about it, and there is a lot of counterfeit products on the market before the real authentic products are coming to the market. And to tackle this problem, actually the licensor at that time, the licensor strategy is to actively get out and license out as much property, as much products as possible, and to look for as much as licensing partner as possible for relevant categories, just to try to beat out the pirated products to the market. So this is another benefits and reasons of licensing. And again, contemporize and refresh your image is very important, because it is a very great way to keep your brand refreshed and updated through the new products that has been introduced to the market, not by yourself, but then by your licensing partners, by your licensees with different products, and constantly it gives a fresh look to your brand, and then keep the ball going and keep the momentum on the market growing. And one final look, that is consumer engagement, and especially for those are properties that are built on social media. And knowing that today's consumer is very different from 10 years ago. They want their brand interactions on their own terms. That means they want localized, regular, and frequent interactions with the brand owner. So for whether it's licensed products, whether it's events, and whether it's promotion, and they want to get into that and in creating it very locally relevant. They want to take part of it. So everyday engagement that friends expected is very important, and licensing can help brand owners to do it. So much about the benefits of licensing to IP owners or to the licensor. And let's talk about, so what are the benefits of licensing for the manufacturers? If you recall, the t-shirt manufacturers, or for the Minion t-shirt manufacturer for the Minion t-shirts. So going back to the brand extension concept, this kind of licensing affords immediate credibility to our licensee's products, as you can quote from the previous two examples. So a plush versus a Peppa Pig plush, and also an ordinary t-shirt versus a Minion t-shirts. It creates immediate awareness to your products. And if you want to do promote your brand or build your brand yourself, actually it costs a lot of investment in terms of time and resources. And another benefits for licensing for the manufacturers is it's a direct shortcut to the market. You guys will be aware of what is involved in building the brand, so it takes a long time, and there's no guarantee of success. But licensees and manufacturers can just brand out the image of a successful brand and put it onto their product and sell it to the consumer. So this is more cost effective and much faster. And also, uh, the beauty of licensing is you can help some small manufacturers to build up their competitors. For example, um, there is a medium or little guy, they want to expand their market share, and they can actually just go out and find the trendiest character or brand and due to good timing at top of the town, they put it on the product, and then it'll be easily get the eyeball of the retail buyers and get them and opportunities to put on their products on at retail. So this is how we can beat the um, what we call the competitors or the big players in the market. And in this same context, a licensee with the most popular brand on its products, being a smaller player and those rights to the most popular things in the market at a given time is a way to open up new distribution, new distribution channel as well. Because, for example, in the past, because the buyers are very busy, and if you want to open up a new distribution channel or to get an appointment with a particular retailer, sometimes it is very difficult. But because of the licensing, and now you have the most popular brand or the hottest brand in hand for your products, and it will be easier for you, especially to make an appointment with the retail buyers. And again, benefits to the retailers in the old term. So here we have a new thing about so retailers in the past. Actually, licensing is just between two parties, brand owners and licensees. And actually, retailers is the first user of this, or their first customers is licensees' first customers because they have to sell through the retailers and then to reach the consumer. But now everyone can be a retailer, especially due to the pandemic situation. So e-commerce is very popular and is actually is skyrocketing, and that's why everyone can be a retailers. And then we can see a lot of retailers, and now they want to bypass licensees and do the deals directly with the brand owners, so that they have more control of the products and more control of the inventory, and also their retail shelves as well. So DTL becomes a very common category right now. And after all, we want to get the product on the shelf, and in order to sell it to consumers, so DTL is becoming more relevant in nowadays retail sector. But of course, in Asia, it could be a little bit different because a lot of retailers in Asia, they're still on consignment basis, and they don't want to get involved in the what we call so in the inventory risks, in the production risks, and that's why this is may not be as popular as in the Western world. But no matter what, this is a very CTR, and is a very good development about the latest development of the licensing industry. And also, actually, with this DTR, it will be easier for the retailers to get better profit margin because they bypass the licensee, but at the same time, and they have a strict control over the inventory because they don't need to rely on the licensee to get them the goods, but then they can make it themselves. And also, it will be easier for them to extract exclusivity because this is unique to the market, unique to their unique to their stores only. Okay, so much about the concept, the basic concept of licensing. And now I want to just give you two case studies because today, so we are talking about books, and so two case studies about so how licensing work for, or at least two examples to illustrate so how we can actually turn books into licensing and into build new business opportunities. The first one I want to share with you guys is something especially for the Taiwan market, is very familiar. So it's Jimmy Lau. And Jimmy Lau actually is a Taiwanese illustrator as well as a picture book writer. And he worked in an advertising company. And in 1995, actually, he recovered from a very serious illness and has determined to devote his heart and soul to art. And in 1998, his first picture book, Secrets in the Forest and A Fish with a Smile, was published in Taiwan. And these two books earned him several books awards and were regarded as the best children's books in several Taiwanese newspapers. And from 1998 to last year, 2020, he has published 68 titles, and Jimmy's book has been translated into dozens of languages and sold around the world. And his book has also been adapted for drama, movie, televisions, and animations. So if we look at, apart from book, how he can go beyond books and get into different product categories. And you can see, actually, there are tons of books, tons of examples from Jimmy. And so from luggage case, like from American Touristers, and you see from stationery, and again, so in terms of licensing, you can partner, you can match your different titles with different products as soon as it is relevant and it is relevant to the consumers, and then you can do licensing. And again, so from travel goods to stationery, and of course to jewelry. And there are more examples from, for example, cosmetics, baby cares items, skin cares items, credit card, even to credit card, and also some sort of promotion, license promotion. So you collect points in some convenience stores, and you can redeem the gift. These are different formats of licensing. And even to airlines, so to dress up the airplane, and then to do some promotions within on board, and of course emoticons or iMessages and stickers, emoji stickers. And also, not only for the conjunct, not only on these tiny products, and actually this is one of the examples of locations basic licensing as well. So his licensing projects or his licensing program extends to actually dress up the train station, and also with some sort of large scale displays inside the train stations. And even more, it should be last year, and then he collaborated with his new book, and he collaborated with the new Taipei City Light Well, and then so to dress up the whole line, and then for different stations, and actually you can see the train, and also different stations, they have features displayed. It is a very, very, very successful program, and even for bus stop stations, bus stops. And another example, so I want to share with you about publishing, or so how publishing work is with Eric Carle. And just a little bit background about the author. So Eric Carle is an American designer, illustrator, and writer of children's books. And he is more noted for the Very Hungry Caterpillar, a picture book that has been translated in more than 66 languages. And so more than 50 million copies, equivalent to 1.8 copies sold every minute since it was published in 1969. And his career as an illustrator and children's book author took off after he collaborated on Brown Bear, What Do You See? And he has illustrated more than 70 books. And this is some of the examples of his licensing work. For example, with Tiva, and so the world of Erica, and also the, in shopping mall promotion, or what we call the location-based entertainment, and toys, outwear items, and even apparel. And last year, actually, they have this new experience, location-based experience as well. So they have opened a pop-up cafe in Ginza of Tokyo, so which is very popular. And then the first day when it was open, so there's a long queue lining up in order to go into the restaurants to take the menu. And you can see when you look at the menu, you look at the food, actually that translates so all the very hungry caterpillar, so the box elements into the food. So display, the layout of the food are really amazing and beautiful. And actually, it has gained a lot of talking points at that time. So now what we can do is so much about the concept size, and then how publisher how licensing can apply on both. And now let's look at the basic elements of licensing. So if you really want to do licensing, of course, you have to welcome to the licensing world. But then there's some sort of protocols that you have to know before you can find a licensing partner. And of course, for licensing, as we said, so there should be an agreement. So what are the basic items in the contract? These are the basic 101 that you have to know. And first, you'll have the royalty rate. The royalty rate actually is, as you remember the example that we shown before. So it is the fee that we collected, or that as an IP owner, you collected from the licensee for renting out the property. It varies by product categories, and it varies by property categories, and also by country and by region. But as a rule of thumb, normally the royalty rate will ranges from 5 to 20%, depending on the basis of calculation. And so if once the licensor and the licensee has agreed on the royalty rate, and of course we'll plug into the sales projection, and with that sales projections, and you come up with estimate amounts that the licensee has to pay, or the manufacturers has to pay to the brand owner over the term of the agreement. At this stage, the licensor may say, okay, so I like what you are proposing, and I like the amount of money that you are just suggesting that I will make at the end of the contract. But I just want you to guarantee, or at least a portion of that projections, or otherwise it will just become numbers on a piece of paper. So this guarantee amount will become the minimum guarantee. And again, as a rule of thumb, it will be, say, ranges between 70 to 80% of the sales projection. Now, if you are doing very good, okay. So again, the minimum guarantee is exactly what it said. It is only the minimum amount of money that guarantees you will pay to the licensor for using his IP. So no matter you are doing a good job or not, so it reflects the opportunity cost of the licensee for agreeing you to use the IP, his IPs onto the products, and it is the opportunity cost of the of the brand owners. So no matter you are doing as a licensee, you are doing a good job or not, you have to pay that minimum guarantee. But if you are doing very well as a licensee, you far exceed the projection, then everyone is happy. And then as a licensee, you will proceed to pay overages, or what we call excess. So which is the amount over the minimum guarantee to the licensor. And then finally, any deals or contract are generally defined by terms. Here, term means the period, the contract period. How long is it? Is it 1 year or 2 years? But normally, so as a market trend, it will be 2 to 3 years. And territory, so which territory the agreement will apply to, whether it is Taiwan only, or it is US only, or it is Hong Kong. And again, channel of distribution. These are the terms, these are the basic terms that you will find in a contract. So for instance, maybe from 2018 to 2020, selling Mickey Mouse t-shirt in Taiwan through e-commerce channel. So you can see, so this is how we can structure, we can construct, we can write a license agreement. And again, before you come into this licensing agreement, and as a brand owner, or I think most of you maybe are publishers, or you have a book and you are the authors, so most of them will be playing the role as a licensor. And there are two key considerations that you really have to do. You have to really have to prepare. And I have to say, these two considerations are really, really, really important. And the first of one is to establish your IP. And you want to go for licensing, you really need to know, um, really need to get a lawyer to help you to determine if you can establish ownership over your logo, your IP, and your work. It is always possible. It is always possible that you have created and is effectively, you have created something that it could be the same or reasonably similar to something that has been created in the past in a different market. You will have to get the lawyers to do what we call due diligence or search to establish that someone else doesn't already own your logo in that particular market. Assuming no one does, so your logo, your work is brand new, no one has similar thing like you, then you need to register your logo as a trademark, which gives you ownership over it, and then no one can legally infringe it upon it, infringe your logo upon it. So it is also the only 100% safe way you can instruct a third party, or we say a licensee, they can use your mark without the licensee being exposed to infringing on the pre-existing trademark. And so just in one country, you have got about 45 classes of product categories as determined by the WTO. And this is a universally recognized and used trademark classification system, meaning all countries adhere to it. For consumer products licensing, out of the 45 classes, about 12 of them are relevant and depending, of course, on the type of IP. So here's the catch. Technically, you've got to get all the trademark in every of those categories for every mark, meaning we are talking about a logo here, that when your property has a logo and have a phrase and a character, all of which you want to protect, then you may need to trademark each one once in each of the class. Then if you do the math, it will be very, very crazy, and especially it will be way too expensive. And remember that you have to register them in every single category. I have to say, if you want to trademark everything, and so you will go into bankrupt before you can start earning revenue. And so that's why, so all licensors, whether it is big or small, they will try to prioritize. So what kind of things are relevant to them? They will not literally trademark everything. They'll just prioritize it and ties to when and where, and there will be revenue opportunities to justify the priority. Second thing, which is very, very important as well. So once you have established your ownership, and of course, you need to think about what does your IP on product look like? So how does it convey your IP's DNA to the consumers? And traditionally in our business, a licensor will provide licensees with a style guide. A style guide indeed is a set of artwork. So the purpose of this is to convey your IP in a meaningful and consistent as well as impactful way. Also, it meant to give the licensees clear set of art. And so as long as they are applying it properly onto the product, the licensee are applying it properly onto the product, it will generally be approved. And this also lends to your brand showing up consistently on products at retail. So nowadays, many licensors, they have online archive. In the past, it's kind of a hard copy. So where all core art and supplemental art packs are kept, and licensees can download it themselves. And most licensors will start out with what is called a core guide or a core art style guide, which then serve as the baseline for subsequent years. And as more art is developed over the life of the IP, additional style guides will come out. And also, licensor can offer some sort of what we call creative programs that will have seasonal packets like holiday, CNY, Valentine's in appropriate market, and also they will come up with some trend-based program. This is particularly important for apparel licensees in the soft line category. This is based on the fashion trends in a different seasons like spring, summer, fall, winter, or denim, or graffiti, or pop art. Besides the two basic key elements, and of course, there are some basic responsibility of the license for the licensors as well. So trademark, copyright, style guide protection, and also fighting infringements reported by licensee, which is a key responsibility of the licensors, because if the licensees they pay you the minimum guarantee, they pick your properties, but then the licensee has no effort in dealing with counterfeit, and there's no point that the licensee has to pay you the royalty. And again, of course, we rely on licensees' new products to refresh our brand. But at the same time, brand owners need to support the brand with marketing activities. So no matter it's from the licensor itself, or the licensors can join hands with the licensees and to do some marketing events to promote the brand. And that is uh, in the licensing terminology, we always ask the licensees to put aside what we call common marketing fund, so which is a pool money in by both the licensors and licensees collected together, and collectively they promote the brand on some joint event. So again, so much about licensing. And now what I need to say is, this is almost come to the end of my presentation, is before you want to become a licensee, before you want to turn your book into licensing programs, you have to do your homework as a licensor. Copyright and trademark registration, we have covered it. And again, you have to understand the fiscal and monetary regulations of the countries that you want to enter. And for example, is there any foreign exchange control? And is there any withholding tax policy? So taxation is very important as well. And again, bank policy. So whether it's easily to remit money out of the countries. And again, cultural differences, because even, for example, in Southeast Asia as a whole, and there are 10 different countries, although they are very small, but actually each country has their own set of cultural differences. So if you go to if you want to enter a market, beware about the cultural differences. And again, very important is the political situation. And this one I don't need to explain a lot, but then you see, so actually every day we see this news, for example, some Japanese properties, and when they enter China, if the relationship with the country, the two countries become sour, and then the IP will have a big impact. The property will have a big impact. And also languages difference, languages barrier. And again, for translated copies, for example, we are talking about books here. Sometimes my members in Hong Kong, and they have licenses in Western world, but the feedback from the licensees or from the licensing agents in the Western market may say, oh, your your the content of your books is great, but then when they translate it into the local languages, it's a little bit different. They cannot get 100% out of it because they don't think in the same way. So languages is a problem as well. Not really a problem, but then it's a key considerations. And of course, local acceptable business practice. So every country is different. Every territory is different. So this is why you have to do your homework. And lastly, I just want to end my presentation with this quote. It is an ever-changing marketplace. No matter what the product category it is, the business is about non-stop changes. And especially this year in retailing, in products, last year, I have to say, in retailing, in products, in consumer tastes. So all we need to do is to embrace changes. And with embrace changes, we can move and we can grow stronger. And this is the beauty of licensing as well. So no matter what, it is a very flexible industry, a very friendly industry. So we can work with different sectors, and this is the magic of licensing. So that will end my presentation today. So thank you for hearing, and if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.